I will just share this with you. Welcome back. And of course, we're talking with Michael Stuart. So we just had a little chat there just now about something I observed. And Michael Stuart said to me, is when a man is served by a woman, I want to take him there. I was at a place where, and a husband and wife, the wife inside, he cut in the yard. And I came to him, he turned off his machine and so on. And the wife bought a glass of juice for her husband. In the heat of the sun and what have you, he started up talking to me, and she gave him the juice. He take a drink. And this is what we were talking during the break. So I'm telling you, so I want him to take that. And he take her first 2 sips, and he said, but that's a good woman, eh? She hear that, she got inside. But he felt so good. And I don't know if it's a regular practice, but it looked to me like a regular practice. Yeah. But in other words, he's showing that I get support from my wife. She bring a glass of juice for me in the middle of the sun while I cut in the yard. Let's talk about the role the women have to play to support their men. That is a fine example. We might take that for granted as though it's nothing. I was there. He turned off the machine, so he didn't call and ask you for it. Right. She came out. You hear what I'm saying? He turned it up. I come to him and he see me a wave and so he turned off the machine. She came out about maybe say 5 minutes after into the conversation. Yes. I did not hear he call she and say, bring this juice. Yes. So she bought it. And then he was able to compliment her in her absence to me. Let's talk about the role and the service the women are supposed to provide for the men if we really value our men.
But we live in a society where if a woman serves a man, that is shunned upon by some of her peers. But what really connects a man with a woman is her willingness to be able to bolster him, serve him, understand his needs, anticipate them. And when that man meets a woman who does that, and there's mutual service, because the Bible says it's more blessed to give, serve, than to receive. And I remember a story where a man wanted, his wife came to him and said she wanted to do such and such a thing. And he said, well, I have this money, but I was going to buy this, something that he needed. So when he went to work, he decided, let me go and buy the thing that she wants. So he went and bought it. So he came home and he said, listen, I bought this. And she said, well, what she did, she went and borrowed money and bought the thing that he wanted, why he could not give her the money. So he got what she wanted, she got what he wanted. Mutual service. Yes, and that is important. So when you have a man who gets that kind of service, he is more willing to now give this service. But the question is, who starts it first?
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So and that is where during the courtship time you could be able to determine the person's willingness to serve and not just give me, make me happy, and so on. I remember a time, I just want to drop this in. I was going to a speaking engagement. I was late, hustling in the shower, came outside and so on. And as I hustling out, trying to put on my jacket while I heading out, it started to rain. But right outside the door, my wife went and got the vehicle, turned on the air conditioner and parked it right outside the door and came with an umbrella and ushered me into the vehicle. Now, that might seem as something that, where she's a servant, she's a slave. But it felt good. Now that remains in my psyche for so long as the way how I felt. And as she kissed me below the umbrella as I drove off. Yes, sir? Now that you can't pay for that.
Exactly.
That is something that is more emotional. And when we deal with things from a physical standpoint, physical things of what you could give somebody as a hand, whether it's money or whatever it is, those are short-lived.
Very good. I brought that up because as we get ready to round up, I'm pointing to the role women are to play in men's life. The juice that felt like I could imagine how fast he finished cut that yard. Yes. Because he was motivated by the glass of juice, the gesture that she, and it maybe it's a practice that they have. I don't know. But I brought that because I find that is a good example for support for the men from our women. Yes. We can't do it without them. We love them. However, they need us just as.
That's right. It has to be mutual.
All right. So let me bring the mutuality into it because without them, we really do exist. Bring that into perspective as how we go forward. as we celebrate men and boys, the role they play in their sons' lives as women, and the role that men play in their lives as we go as a cohesive unit.
Right. So for a woman to be able to serve, in courtship, who takes who out? The man. Who pays for the dinner, comes and pick her up, and so on. So he started off the service. And along the way, I think when we get married, we drop our service.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to keep it up, recognizing that as a man, we serve. But because I believe that marriage is a covenant, in a covenant, if the other person does not keep up their part of the bargain, of the covenant, it does not release you of yours. So as a man, we need to say, this is my wife, this is my family, this is my children. And regardless of how she reacts or how she behaves, I will take care of my family, I'll take care of my children. The woman also has her responsibility to say that this is my husband, and I must be able to support his dreams and the direction that he's going, because a woman is a helpmeet, but a man must have a vision of where he's going. It is hard for a woman to help a man get to where he does not know where he's going. So he must know that first in order for her to be able to do it.
The term helpmeet, Mr. Stewart,
it's not
would be from the... Wait, take a time. You could get in serious trouble with that on an international forum.
Exactly.
Now, because, you see, again now, when we talk about the spiritual, when we spoke about Mr. Pastor Francis, and we come to where we are, that is what you have... so let's say it's an international forum, we are different people, and you use that term. There could be, the press will write you up differently, but you are being realistic with the functioning and the role between male and female. Now, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, this shall be my, whatever. That may have its place, but not in all of society. How do we deal with the balance? Because when I talk about the churches where, or the church schools that don't have as much violence as opposed to the public schools. And I made the point that you can't tell a child to pray when he is not being taught that at home. And when he comes into public school, he might just pull aside and wait till they don't pray. It's the same thing when we have a spiritual upbringing under a certain doctrine that may not be applicable to today's world. How do you bring balance when there are those wives who will tell you, hey, I am no helpmeet to you. We are equal here. Don't call me no helpmeet. Or don't refer to me as such. Even though that has been the guidance that you were raised on, and the principle and the moral and the spiritual values that brought you to where you are. Your mother, and it goes back. But however, there's a generation that will not accept that, Mr. G. Mr.
So even if we don't want to be a helpmeet to a man, and she goes to work, the reason he's paying her is to be a help to him.
All right.
An appropriate help. That's what helpmeet means. A help that is appropriate for me. So he hires you because of your qualification, your competency, which is appropriate for the job that he has for you. You don't have a problem with that. But when it comes to the home,
right,
I must not be a helpmeet, which is a help that is appropriate for this man. And so therefore, if you don't want to help this man, then find the man that you are appropriate to help. But it must be an appropriate help that he gets.
Just to inject a little more in the conversation. So, the verbal abuse that the man endures as a result of me proving, because I have a doctorate, and you're a carpenter. So, the respect based on my status does not give me, or when she goes to her work and she talks with her peers, girl, how you a carpenter, and then she takes that home in the lunchroom in work.
Yeah.
And they talk about what's going on at home. You take it, and so she goes home with that attitude. And she starts to verbally abuse him, emasculate him.
Right.
And he no longer feels a man. In some kinds, he ends in violence and so on. Because he wants to know where you get that from. We were never like that. And you're influenced by outside and you're bringing it into the home. And so on. Oh, it's so much, eh?
Yeah.
But I just want to, as I get ready to...
But you see, roles and responsibility has to be understood in the system, family, workplace. Many business owners are less educated than the very people that they hire in. So you can't come in there and say, well, how can you not have by kind of a... And Henry Ford, when his business was expanding, Ford Motors and so And they said, well, boy, you know, the business is expanding and it is just too much for you to handle. You don't have the competency, the education to be able to carry it. And he told them, listen, hold on. And he called his engineer, he called his finance man, he called the mechanics and so on, and put them to sit around. And then he said to the people who were now telling him, the shareholders, now ask me any question. Which means I surround myself with people who could help me to give the answer. You understand?
Yeah.
And this is what it is, regardless of the education of the man. He must have around him a help that is appropriate for him. And that is what the Bible says that God is. God is a present help in the time of need, which is the same word that was used for help need. An appropriate help for you that you would need.
Okay.
Mr. Stuart, such a fruitful conversation as we recognize men and boys, celebrate men and boys. Before we close though, earlier on you all was speaking about the juice, and you gave the reference about your wife bringing the vehicle closer to you and that kind of stuff. We often hear, what's the term? Love languages.
Yes.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Because persons would have different love languages. I think there are 5.
Yeah.
You know, and in this case, that would be act of service,
Yes.
with the giving of the juice and that kind of stuff. But one partner may have a particular love language, the other may have a different love languages. But I think everyone has all in some
Yes,
measurement.
you would have it in different degrees, but one is going to be the dominant one.
Correct. Before we close, in terms of what B-Men is doing as we recognize International Men's Day, feel free to share. And I guess we didn't get to really ask the question, but what is the ultimate challenge or the main challenges that men are facing in the Tobago space based on your consultations?
All right, so I think if you're looking at what challenges men, is men getting together to support men. I did say recently, and I hold it, that sometimes I feel we get more support from women than we do from men concerning men's own issues, right? And I was referring to the Blue Room. The Blue Room is a woman who created the Blue Room, Dr. Agatha Carrington.
Yes.
Empower TT was Ms. Champa Kajo, Ms. Ayana Repsa Roy. Those people in power did things for men. So the question is, who do we know as a man who is in power who has done something significant? And that is what is lacking. So we need to get the men on board.
Okay.
Right? On Friday, I wanted to push that Friday at the Blue Room from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Come for your massage. We cooperate with Ms. Roxanne Joseph from I Massage You, and she's going to help you de-stress. We're going to do your testing. We're going to have conversations, counseling sessions, and we're going to have a lot of rapport that is going to go on there between that time, 9 to 1. Anybody could come, any man could come, but I want them to be able to call me at 480-0080, 480-0080, so that we could now start scheduling people to come.
All right, Mr. Stuart, we are indeed thankful that you joined us this morning. Happy International Men's Day to you and to all the men and boys all here. We're celebrating each other, and of course the women, we can't do it without all here. Celebrate all your men, all your, your uncles, your fathers, your brothers, your nephews, and all the men in your lives. And once we have love and we spread love, the world will be a better place. All right?